Right, and after the dramatic events at the end of Book 2, let's start Book 3, shall we? Have unsafe progress? I don't think so.
The White Ship. She was one of the fastest vessels that was ever built. The man who should be king of the English now, the son of King Henry, was on board when she sailed off. And with the prince there were 140 knights and many nobles, all on their way from Normandy to England. They say the ship hit the rocks, and then a fire broke out. Even before the White Ship had departed, the prince and his men had begun to drink and get violent. Monks that were meant to bless the voyage were then forced to disembark. Some say the ship had been cursed. The king's son and many of his family were pulled down into the Black Sea that night.
1142.
You're forgetting one important detail. Not only these monks, but also Stephen of Blois, the king's nephew, left the ship before it embarked. They say he got ill.
That old rumor.
The same Stephen who calls himself the King of the English now.
What? That cannot be a coincidence.
Yes, it can be. Of course he's king now. He survived. He is the king's nephew.
What do you think, my lord?
I think Stephen is a clever man. Clever enough to have his whole family perish. But why he would want to rule that godforsaken rock, I will never understand.
What makes you say that? I love my country.
Then why are you leaving?
Well, because I want to see something new.
I'll tell you what you're going to see. A proper country, where people know how to behave.
What about you? Why are you leaving?
I'm looking for someone.
For who? I guess I should stay out of other people's business. Forgive me.
You English do talk a lot, don't you?
I just don't know how to feel about leaving my country for the first time. I mean, how should anyone feel?
Excited?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just running away.
You should all get some rest. It will not be long now till we reach Cherbourg.
Thank the Lord. I can't wait to be back.
Cherbourg. So that's how she chose where to go. Jack Cherbourg's his father. Book 3, The Eye of the Storm, Chapter 15. The Journey. Cherbourg, Normandy.
In the late summer of 1142, I had left my home country, England, for good. My old life lay in shambles, as did my former home of Kingsbridge. Having failed both my friends and family, I had set out to find my baby's father, the man I still loved with all my heart, Jack Jackson. And so early one morning in July, I finally arrived on the shores of Normandy. With nothing on me but a pouch of coin and a young, curious face yet unnamed, who was just as unfamiliar to this new world as was I.
Let's name him Jack, why not? The White Ship. The sinking of the White Ship 1120. The White Ship was one of the fastest ships of its time. It was steered by the son of the captain of the Mora, the ship that brought William the Conqueror from Normandy to England when he invaded England in 1066. Like his father before him, the captain of the White Ship gladly offered his vessel to many members of the royal household of King Henry for passage on their travel from Normandy to England to visit the king. But like all of the poor souls who went aboard the ship, the captain did not survive the voyage. In the dark of night, the ship hit rocks and fire broke out. The ship was dragged down into the dark abyss of the sea, and with it, many of the king's heirs. Stephen of Blois was meant to be on board as well, but it is said a sudden sickness caused him to leave the ship before it set sail. That November night, as the White Ship sank, Stephen became the last remaining male heir to the English throne, and thus some claim he was responsible for the sinking. So what do we have here? I took the first ship in the morning. Had to get away as fast as possible. What about Sir Catface though, and his banner? There's a lot of fighting for that castle. The ship wouldn't land there. I recognize these tools. A mason like Jack.
You're still here?
Oh, it's you. I'm just trying to get my feet used to good solid ground again. The last bit of our voyage wasn't exactly my pint of ale.
That hammer you're carrying, do you happen to be a mason?
Actually, I am. You have a keen eye, mistress.
I guess I just know a mason when I see one.
To be honest, I haven't been one long. Just finished my apprenticeship in Salisbury. Before that, I used to shear sheep with my parents, but I guess that wasn't really for me. Father still hates me for leaving, though.
What will you do to find work here as a mason?
Don't know. That's for me to find out. All I heard was that the wages are better over here.
So you'll just travel from town to town and look for employment?
Right. And I'll start in Marseille. A fellow mason told me about the abbey there. He said these Normans build their churches quite differently than we do back home. I need to see that with my own eyes. Maybe learn a thing or two.
Maybe Jack went to see the abbey in Marseille.
Do many masons go to Marseille?
I dunno. It's really just a tiny town. The mason who told me just happened to do some repairs there once. It's likely he told others as well.
I left my old life as well.
Scary, isn't it? To start off fresh and all that.
Well, you definitely sound more excited than scared.
Oh, I am excited. Wouldn't anyone be?
I don't know. Maybe. I'm looking for someone. A red-haired mason called Jack Jackson. He came to France about a year ago or so.
A fellow mason, great. Unfortunately, I wouldn't know a thing. After all, I just arrived here with you.
I know, but should you meet someone like that on your journey, tell him Aliena of Shiring is looking for him.
All right. Jack Jackson. I'll keep an eye out for you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Have a safe journey.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Trace Jack's route into mainland Europe. Opens up quite a bit here, the game, doesn't it? They're bargaining for passage. Doing business with the English must pay. Not Jack. For a moment there I thought, but it's not him.
Good day. I am looking for someone. A traveler who came through here last summer. Oh, hush now. I need to talk to this man.
Looks young.
He was born at the beginning of summer.
What's his name?
I haven't given him one yet.
You should. He needs to know who he is. Makes growing up a lot easier.
True enough.
You said you're looking for someone.
The man I'm looking for looks a bit like you, actually. A bit more boyish, though.
So he has red hair, but no beard. Well, I don't know every redhead around these parts. There are quite a few of us. Most of my family here in Cherbourg is ginger.
Oh, his name is Jack Jackson, and he is a mason.
No, sorry. I haven't seen him. And I come here every day. Maybe May saw him. She helps the sailors get their cargo to the nearby towns. Carries travelers, too.
I'll ask her. Well, thank you.
Talk to May, the coachwoman. Maybe she can help.
Appears to be her coach. She must know her way around France. They're selling fish and whatever cargo they can get their hands on. So, gotta talk to her, the coachwoman, I suppose. Anything else here? No.
Hey, you.
Hey, you.
That's quite a bundle you got there. Where are you headed?
Have you seen a red-haired mason? He must have landed here sometime late last summer.
Another ginger in Normandy? I wouldn't have noticed, even if he was carrying a hammer instead of a fishing rod. Maybe you should ask someone in Barfleur. That's where all the travellers come through, the pilgrims and kings. Their lot rarely lands in Cherbourg, with the fortress passing back and forth between Stephen of Blois and Geoffrey of Anjou. Why you even came to Cherbourg in the first place baffles me.
It was the earliest ship I could get.
You must be in some hurry, madam.
Let's just say I needed to get away before I changed my mind.
Fine with me. Who am I to judge?
Maybe in Barfleur someone saw Jack.
What other routes are there besides going through Barfleur?
Oh, I don't know, really. You need to ask the locals about that. But Barfleur sounds like a good place to start. Shake my hand and I'll take you there.
Do you know the road to Lessay?
Been there, seen it. But I hope you're not planning to go there on foot. Tell you what, you give me some coins and I'll treat you to me wagon. You can even change your destination once we're on the road, what'd you say?
Sure.
All right. Take me out of town.
All right, where'd you need to be?
So you got a couple of choices to make here, I suppose. Ooh. Specifically... Oh, that's Rouen, Rennes. Le Mont Saint-Michel. Le Mans, Orléans. Oh yeah. I know where we are. Go to Barfleur, the main port into France. or visit the abbey in Lissay? Let's go to the port first.
We went to Barfleur, a scenic port town built on granite. It was the biggest harbour in Normandy and the main entry point for the Normans to their new possession of the Isle of England. I talked to some of the sailors and fishermen, but no one had remembered seeing Jack. How could they? Almost a year had passed since he, a simple mason, had journeyed through the busy town, a town with no memory other than that of the last king who passed through on yet another one of his violent conquests. Maybe I was approaching this the wrong way. What had drawn him to France in the first place? The distance to Kingsbridge? Or something specific? What was my lead?
Try the port of Harfleur. Well, that's another port then. Just going along the port, along the coast, checking out the ports. Or just go straight to Lissay. Let me save this. And I'll continue with the ports for now. Or can I zoom out? Oh, that's Rennes, Brest, Nantes, La Rochelle, Poitiers, Limoges. That's Tours, Orléans, Paris, Saint-Denis, Rouen, Amiens.
I arrived in Harfleur and finally got a lead.
Oh.
In an inn, a man remembered a red-haired Englishman who had planned to head past Lissay to the Mont St.
Are we going to Mont Saint? That's
I
exciting.
thanked him and was about to leave when a group of pilgrims asked me over to their table. They told me that they too were heading for Mont St. And although they had no intentions to stop in Lissay, I knew that joining a group would be a lot safer than traveling alone.
I would like to see Lissay though. Follow the pilgrims to Mont Saint-Michel. I mean, I have saved, so let's go to Lissay first.
Lissay was tiny, but as it turned out, worth the trip. In the small abbey church of the Trinity, I met a monk who claimed to have talked to a man fitting Jack's description. He'd been fascinated by the abbey's rib vaulting and had asked the monks countless questions about the place's construction. The monk apologized that he couldn't tell me where Jack had traveled next, but I didn't mind. I lay down to sleep on the floor of the abbey guest house and, for the first time in almost a year, I felt relief. As I drifted into sleep, I hugged our baby tight and whispered into his tiny pink ear, "We're going to find your daddy."
Alright, why can we go to Le Mans now? Make a stop in Le Mans? Follow the pilgrims? Like, which pilgrims? Okay. We know that eventually we want to go here, so I'll check out the other clues first, I suppose.
Going to Le Mans reminded me of all the trouble I'd left behind in England. 30 years ago, Le Mans had been conquered by the Plantagenet Geoffrey of Anjou, Maud's husband. And although they'd held it ever since, other noble families kept on pulling at the city, like Maud and Stephen tearing at England. There was no sign of Jack, but I got news of a new kind of cathedral being built in Saint-Denis, just north of Paris. It was possible that Jack had gone there to learn from the craftsmen. That was, if he hadn't travelled further south, looking for work in one of the many churches in Tours, the hometown of Saint-Martin.
Oh, I can't go to Mont Saint-Michel now. Just to Tours or the Great Cathedral. I'll load this.
I arrived in Harfleur. I thanked him and... Lissay was tiny, but I laid...
Okay, let's go to Mont St. Michel.
My father had once told me tales of the Mont St. Michel. Long ago, the Archangel Michael had urged Hubert of Avranches to build an abbey on a lonely rock on the ocean by burning a hole into his head. They say one can go and see his penetrated skull on display in the church of his hometown. It was a windy day when I arrived, and the place was crowded with pilgrims. Pilgrims
Jongleurs,
and
huh?
jongleurs. I remembered Jack's fascination with these tellers of stories. I spoke to one who was just taking a break. As it happened, he had indeed met Jack, although not in Mont St. Michel, but on a road heading east from there.
Oh?
Apparently, Jack had been hopelessly tracking Jongleur, who might have known his father, Jack Cherbourg. But as he'd been gradually running out of money, he'd intended to look for work in Le Mans or Tours. That was about 6 months ago. I was catching up.
So Cherbourg is not Cherbourg, right? The place we arrived in. But maybe it is. Maybe that's just the anglicized version. That's just where his father was from. Right.
Going to Le Mans reminded me of all the... There was no sign of Jack.
We saw this earlier, and now we have Tours and Saint-Denis. Let me save again. Tours, Central France. After 2 months on the road. I kind of want to check the other location now, though.
North of Paris, I visited the construction of the great cathedral of Saint-Denis. It was far from finished, but already I could feel its magnificence. It was like nothing I'd ever seen before. I assumed if Jack had come near Paris, he would have ended up here. Unfortunately, I was wrong. No one among the army of masons raising the cathedral of Saint-Denis had known him. My stomach churned when I realized that my strenuous walk to Paris had been for naught.
Alright, zigzagging quite a bit, passing by Orléans here. So, ask around if anyone's seen Jack. I won't give the baby a name until I've found Jack. The Amores. The book is starting to fall apart. Will I ever find Jack again? Like the ones Tom used to make back in Kingsbridge. Everything feels so far away now. Seems self-assured. A bit of anger on his lip though. Important looking man. Just like in Kingsbridge, although the design looks very different, almost from another world. Aren't they usually round? I've never seen them like this. Oh, that's Gothic style. You and me both know being a mother isn't easy.
Good day. Are you the master builder?
What is it?
I'm looking for a mason who may have passed through here. An Englishman with carroty hair. He calls himself Jack Jackson.
How they're communicating, by the
Redhead.
way.
Yes. Did you see him? He might have asked for work here.
No, I'm not looking for new masons. We're just doing repairs.
Ah, but was he here?
No, never seen him. Now, stand back, woman. Something could fall on your baby's head.
She probably speaks some French, right? Considering it's the language of the nobility in England by now.
I was told he wanted to come here.
Well, maybe he changed his mind.
Are you sure you haven't seen him?
I am.
You hesitated when I mentioned a redhead. Are you sure you haven't seen him?
Yes, I am sure.
May I talk to your workers?
No, they're busy. And I can assure you they have nothing to say on that matter.
Perhaps I'll talk to them once they've finished for the day.
It would be a waste of time.
Toy.
All right, he was here. He was working for me. But I had to throw him out after 2 or 3 days.
Why?
Because he was all want. Let me redesign the roof, let me make the nave lighter. All pretty ideas, but he never shut up long enough to do the work he was supposed to do. Shit, that man was almost as needy as my son when he was still a brat.
He
Sounds
does
like
know
him.
a lot about his craft.
Well, I know masons like him. They grow up gifted, but without a mote of discipline in their guts. Can't work with someone like that.
Do you know where he went next?
No idea. Maybe to Limoges or Angoulême. Maybe even to La Rochelle. Seemed to have plans for every cathedral on God's green earth, but none for himself.
I understand. I'll leave you to it then.
Bon voyage.
Lots of choice. A flourishing artistic center. Another site with another cathedral. An important and free port town.
We had just left Tours when I suddenly felt dizzy. I stopped and made rest, trying to catch my breath, then lost my breakfast in a ditch at the side of the road. To my horror, our baby too had grown pale.
Oh no.
His breath shallow like that of an old man. I tried not to panic, but the next inn was a long distance away and we couldn't stay on the road where it was wet and cold.
Head back and rest. Yeah.
Back in Tours, the fever got worse. I remember people carrying me into a room, laying me on a bed. I tried to feed my baby, but after that, everything turned into a blur. When I awoke, Jack was standing
What?
next to my bed.
It's a fever dream, right?
He scolded me for following him. "You know you could go anywhere you want," he whispered. "Why be stupid and follow me?" I tried to answer, but he just opened the window and jumped out, heading toward ancient Greece, or maybe all the way to Arabia. And in my feverish mind, I followed him.
Oh, to Greece or Arabia, the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of philosophy. That's kinda cool. King's Bridge. Not a very
The further I
accurate
went,
map.
the angrier I got. For years, I'd been fighting for my family. I'd committed myself to an oath to my father. I'd built up a business to sustain it and even married a man I despised so I could create a future for the people around me. I'd known nothing but my duty to the men in my life, while the man I was trying to find lived a life of casual irresponsibility. He traveled the world on a whim to learn about mathematics and philosophy, while I had to raise the child he'd fathered. When could I ever do anything just for myself? I asked the world as I went on.
The site of a great failure. My only option now?
I'd travelled in a circle all the way to the edge of the world and back, only to return to the place of our failure. With my eyes closed, I listened to the sound of ripping yarn and crumbling walls, and of coaches carrying good people away into a cloud of crimson dust. When the last moat had settled, I opened my eyes again and found myself in a dirty little room. An old maid was sitting next to my bed and smiled at me, then handed me my baby.
Was she smiling at me?
Oh, dear God, he still looked so pale. The more I tried to keep him warm, the colder he felt. Oh, please, God, let him live. Don't punish him for my own sins. I gently caressed his head until finally he put his mouth to my breast and drank more and more, becoming greedier with every swallow. We had both been spared. We rested one more day. Then I gathered my things and headed back to the cathedral to thank the Lord for his mercy.
Rough times. I need to thank the Lord for sparing our baby's life. I suppose, yeah. A good place to say my prayers. Nothing new here, is there? Okay, let's do it.
I thank you, dear Lord.
All right, steady now.
I thank you for having spared my child. I thank you for...
Don't let go until it's done.
But why are you showing mercy on me? I failed everyone I cared about. I failed Jack. I failed my brother. And if I never return, I would also break the oath I had given Father. It's just that I feel like I've never had a life of my own. I've always fought for others. And this may be the very first time that I fight for something that I only want for myself. Maybe I should just go back and help rebuild Kingsbridge. Maybe Jack doesn't even care for me anymore.
Oh, he does.
Amen. Huh.
What's the statue? Corbel, is this Jack's doing?
I've seen one of those before.
It's amazing, isn't it? The man who did that really had it in him.
Had what in him?
The spirit of a true Mason. It's a shame that the master let him go. In just 1 month, he did so many things.
What did he do?
He came up with ideas for how to make the construction easier. But the master didn't want to hear it. To tell you the truth, Everyone thinks that he feared for his own job, having someone like that around. The last thing Jack did was carve that corbel. It was the one thing the master let him do. Then when he was done, he was asked to leave.
Your master said he had no discipline.
Let me tell you something. Jacques worked very hard on it. He was impatient and had a temper, but you could see that he tried to overcome it. Conquering that rock was very important to him.
Oh, I understand that so well. Do you happen to know where he went next?
He wanted to walk the pilgrim trail to Santiago de Compostela.
The Camino? The Way of St. James?
He said he might find someone there who knew his father.
Just one more thing. How was he when he left?
Never thought about that. Relieved, I guess. He seemed ready for something new.
Thank you so much for your help.
Think nothing of it. And good luck on your travels. May you find what you are looking for.
Alright, that was pretty helpful. Far away.
Isn't it odd? Just when you stop looking, you come across the most curious of things. Like these 3 devices that one of my merchants brought back from Baghdad.
Oh no. Is it another one of your Banu Musa toys, Rashid?
They're not toys, Adriel. They're objects of scholarly ingenuity and reflection.
I will let my valued friend from the north do the honors.
There he is.
Jack, if you may.
Before we continue here, though, we'll take a short break. I'll see you on the other side.
Let
Goodbye.
me draw your attention to the magnificent songbird on the table.